Call us back into session. I move to terminate the employment agreement with the city manager, Michael Matthias, contingent upon execution of an interim chief economic development director employment agreement substantially in the form as prepared by the city. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I'll start off. This city is at a point where it needs to pivot. And pivot is the definition I have is that it's a change in strategy without losing the vision of the city. What we have is we need a transition. We need an ability to move forward in the city in a new direction, and why we're looking and searching for a new city manager, which is a lengthy process, by the way. We would have an interim city manager, and Michael would be focusing on specifically the marina development to ensure that all the hard work continues to go forward because he has that base level knowledge, and that would be a transition. He'd also offer the ability to provide guidance and history and some of the information and relationships that go with that. So there'd be a transition. And then he would receive 12-month severance compared to the 18 he has now. This was an amicable solution to a situation that we felt was necessary, and this is why the motion exists. With that, I'll start to take discussion from everybody else. Who would like to start? I'll start with Councilmember Steinmetz.
Yeah, I think there's a shelf life for city managers. And, you know, there have been a number of people in the community who would have liked to have seen something like this happen faster. There probably are some that think this is, wait, what are we doing? But there just comes a time when it is right to move on. And we need to move on as seamlessly as possible, costing the city as little as possible. And it is always, you know, trying to find the balance that everybody can agree to often doesn't make everybody happy, but it's something everybody can live with. And I think this is what is best for the city, both in terms of the management and in terms of the finances involved. And so I strongly support this move and this motion. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Buxton, I believe you were next.
Thank you, Mayor. On January 23rd, 2020, at about 2 minutes and 38 seconds, or 2 hours and 38 minutes, I made some comments that just supported a decision that led us to some of these things today that we're working through. I made the best decision I could with the information I had. Tonight was not expected. So all things considered, the decisions that I'm going to make here in the next few minutes, I believe is a forward movement of our economic development, stability of our staff, the ability to secure an excellent city manager coming forward. Probably a couple other comments for some of the motions that we've got coming, but I do want to appreciate deeply the work that's been done. And the decisions I'm going to make tonight, I'm making the best decisions I can with the information I have. Thank you.
Councilmember Harris.
Under new items for consideration, I asked the council to consider a complaint against the only public employee over which we have any kind of control. And I believe that on September the 27th, 2020, you know, that community meeting at the marina, basically the city manager there should have been replaced right then and there. Basically, the whole notion of the North Hotel parking lot thing rendered him, that was an abrogation of public trust. And to reward, and that's what this transition plan is, it should it, even the way it's being rolled out, I'm sure this will come across to the public with exactly that same level of surprise. This has been the furthest thing from a transparent process, and I wanted to be on the record in saying how just what we're doing is we're rewarding, we're taking the part, we're extending the shelf life of the economic development, which was the least effective part of the city manager's portfolio. So we're essentially rewarding bad behavior and extending the regime into the future. And I cannot but object. Not only, I think that the way that this is being handled is emblematic of the entire performance going back, since his hiring. If you thought that that Marina Hotel thing was a one-off, you are incorrect. The city does everything exactly the same way, and this process tonight is just one more example. And whatever payout we would have had to make, simply 18 months or whatever, would have been to the benefit of the public. You would make the amount of money that we have left on the table over the years, just when you heard the budget presentation, okay? We've left so much money on the table in terms of our business community. So I cannot support either this transition process or suggesting that we want to continue to lock in place the bad policies. Thank you.
Councilman Pennington?
Yeah, I think there are people in the right place at the right time doing the right things. And, Michael was hired early on as the Economic Development Director. And then our city manager decided to retire. We were $750,000 from being bankrupt, looking at dissolving the city. And so he was, we went outside to hire a city manager. The guy decided not to take the job, so Michael ended up with the job. And I think that if you look at where we came from in 2017 and where we are today in terms of stability, in terms of the health of the city, in terms of our employees, their ownership of what they do, the silos that were taken down so that divisions could talk to each other and work together and work as a team to bring the city forward, to provide services that you all desire and want. Now, Michael's a lot of things to a lot of different people, depending upon your relationship with him and the experiences you've had with him. And so, as we go forward and as we make this change, to have him come full circle back to the economic development side with the oversight of the marina development, I think is wise, and I think it's good for what we're going for. We're going forward that way. We'll make a transition in leadership, and it's the right person in the right job for right now with this change. And there's a baseline of knowledge. It's not even a baseline, it's beyond that. And there's a tremendous amount of knowledge. There's a tremendous amount of things that he can bring with that we could hire somebody to oversee that, but we'd be starting from ground zero again and kind of moving forward trying to move forward with this project. So there's some history that's valuable that we need to retain. And so I think this change is appropriate. I think this change is going to be a healthy change in the long run for the city at several different levels. And so I'm ready to support this. I'm ready to watch the city go forward. And that's really it. I just want to thank him for what he did and his time as a city manager. And my experiences were good with him. Sometimes they were he challenged me, and I challenged him. But at the end of the day, he was at that time the right person for that job. And now we'll transition, and we'll get another person in the city manager's seat, and they'll be the right person for this period of time in our history. So anyway, I'll support this.
Any other comments? Councilmember Oxer.
My problem with this is that we're not transitioning the economic development director position. We're simply continuing what we've had going. So, you know, as far as any value, I think the thing is, we've come to the decision that a change needs to be made. I think we've made the change. Cut it.
Any other discussion before we take a vote? Councilmember Harris, your second time.
This strikes me as basically, what was it, my second meeting or whatever, where my esteemed colleague pulled something out of his pocket, and basically what's happening tonight is pulling a piece of paper out of the pocket and saying, we're going from 12 months to 18 months severance, okay? And that's really has been essentially the vice grips on this council since then. So well done, Councilmember Pennington. And this thing tonight is exactly the same kind of thing. It should not happen with this council at the end of the year. It should, any kind of major decision should wait for the next council, just like the finance committee thing. We do all of these deals that basically lock in the status quo and make meaningful progress impossible. And I resent it deeply. And that's it. Oh, but it's great strategy.
Any other comments? All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. I see Councilmember Pennington, Councilmember Steinmetz, Deputy Mayor Buxton, Councilmember Nutting, and myself. All those opposed, Councilmember Harris, or no, Councilmember Harris and Councilmember Oxegar. That motion passes 5-2.
Mayor, you have 4 minutes.
I'm sorry?
You have 4 minutes. You want to extend?
I need to extend this meeting. I would suggest a motion up to 10 o'clock. Go ahead.
I don't think it's going to take that much longer.
Well, just in case.
Okay. I'll extend up to 10 o'clock.
In a second, all those in favor, raise your right hand. I see Councilmember Pennington, Councilmember.
Hold on a second.
What? I'm sorry.
This is the order of business we take. No councilmember comments or reports or anything else after that.
Okay, do I have a
We're
second
gonna
on that?
We're going to finish this.
Okay.
The other motion may possibly.
All those in favor of the motion that we'll extend till 10 o'clock, but we won't do board and committee reports. We'll close the meeting after this action.
Or presiding officer.
Yes, exactly. Okay. All those in favor, raise your right hand. I see Councilmember Pennington, Councilmember Steinmetz, Deputy Mayor Buxton, Councilmember Nutting, Councilmember Oxegar, and myself. All those opposed, Councilmember Harris. Motion passes 6-1. All right. I move to appoint Tim George to the position of interim city manager and authorize the mayor to sign the employment agreement substantially in the form as prepared by the city. Do I have a second? Second. So I'll open this up as well. I looked for who was the best suited person in the city. In my discussions, one of those conversations I had with our city attorney, Tim George, who's demonstrated his competency in his position and I've seen him and so forth. So I inquired if he would be interested in filling this position until the new council chooses a new city manager. I thought he was the best suited for it, and then that's why I made that recommendation. Mr. George will play in a couple worlds. He'll be doing some city business as a city attorney because he's involved in that, but also he'll be running the city. This is one of those things where, in Michael's particular case, he's handling a component of the city manager's job while Tim is handling a component of the city attorney job, but they're able to facilitate and do these things without dropping a beat and make the transition as we move to a new city manager more of a flow rather than an abrupt stop or halt, which would, I think, be much more detrimental. This is the best situation. So with that, I open it up the floor to discussion concerning Mr. George becoming the interim city manager. Mr. Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Mahoney, for acknowledging
My apologies, Councilmember Harris.
And your role in this. Basically, this is a serious damage to democracy. This proposal has been done by two members of the council. It had no business being proposed by any individual. We do not have a strong mayor system here. This has been proposed, basically worked out in private, and then sprung on the council and discussed in private under the cloak of executive session. And now this transition essentially bakes in the regime. And I understand how awkward it is for our staff. They want continuity, they have good relationships, but this is terrible for democracy and for the city going forward. And I appreciate our staff and all of that stuff and the relationships, but the deal is that I have to think about 33,000 people and 25 years out, and this is not in the interest of the residents of Des Moines as I see it going forward, the next generation. It may be great for a certain number of people, employees or whatever, but it is terrible for the future of the city. And I'm sorry for raising my voice, but this is not democracy. It's just not. And I don't know how to say it in a friendly way, because if something is outrageous, the only appropriate response is to express outrage. Thank you.
Councilmember Steinmetz.
Yeah, listen to the champion of democracy after telling everybody that, oh, you shouldn't be involved in the budget process. It's beyond you. It's too complicated. You know, the hypocrisy is just incredible here. He disagrees with the policies, and I understand that, and that's a perfectly legitimate thing. But that doesn't mean we all get our way every time we want to get our way, and then we have a public raising of our voices to, express that. I support Mr. George as the interim city manager. I believe that continuity is important. I think he's capable of doing the job. I think the staff trusts him. And I think that's probably as important as any other piece of this as we're making the transition to a new city manager. This is the right thing to do at this time, and this is how to deal with it. Personnel issues are not public. They are not shared with the public. That's just not how you do it. So this proposal works for me, and I think it's a good one for the city, and I think it's a good one for the staff of the city. I support it.
Deputy Mayor Buxton.
Thank you, Mayor. I do want to respond to a couple of statements that were made about democracy and working hard to do what we feel even what the citizens would like and the best way to move forward in doing something with a very sensitive situation, a very difficult situation. And I'll be really transparent here. I operate sometimes out of fear, on and off over especially the last couple of years, because I never know what's going to appear in writing about me or some of my colleagues, if it's going to be correct, assigning motives to me. That has happened to me tangibly twice tonight. And it's infuriating to not be able to answer that well, and that dias business gets done on Facebook. That is infuriating. And so it is difficult for me to figure out how to move forward with a good decision and protect the process, but still be transparent. The thing that really ticks me off sometimes is that it's like, what does the community, I don't think it's the community, but it's like, transparency does not mean walking around in cellophane. It means you don't just take all your clothes off. There are certain things that you talk about in appropriate ways and if you've got an idea, it's appropriate to share it with one other person and your colleague and bounce it off and say, well, what do you think about this? Or I'm frustrated with that. Now, just because two colleagues have a conversation does not mean we've been undemocratic. So I don't want to just fill the space with words, but it's very difficult to sit and feel accused like this. I feel like in every day, every week, I have moved forward the best way I can to take in the everyday forum, public forum that happens on Facebook. And I read all that stuff. So I get input and I try and do the very best here. That's what's happening tonight. I'm going to cut that short. I'm going to go to Tim George. He's a magnificent man. He's honest. I tell him he brings temperance into every room he walks into. I appreciate him. I trust him. And I have no qualms about making this decision with him moving forward tonight. Thank you.
Councilmember Pennington.
Yeah, I'm going to support Tim for this job. I think he's the right person at the right time to do this. And you're in interim role, and there's still a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of stuff that has to happen, and it's while you came up under not only this city manager, but Piasecki and the city attorney there. So there's a whole history there. It's not just this continuing of the regime. And so I support you. You've got a lot of experience in municipal government in terms of the legal pieces. And that's important as you go into this leadership role, because you know the answers, and your partner is there also to back you up. And so I have all the confidence in the world that you'll do a job that is absolutely stellar for the community. Thank you.
Any other comments before we take a vote? Councilmember Harris, your second time.
I am not exactly thrilled at having the city attorney also be the city manager, except for a very limited term. Expressly, I know that many cities, when you make a change, the city attorney then initiates the hiring search, and it is a quick process. But the city attorney has a very unique position as the counsel to the city council, and I struggle with having those roles combined. I don't care what other cities do. I think they should be separate slots, and so yeah. Apart from anything else, I just I don't even, I don't know what to, but I'll just say that for me, this says something as to communication, which has people expressed to me was a challenge going back to my first, the first day I got up here. People have complained about communication. And I think that the way we're handling this, I'm sorry, but that word optics matter. How you project yourself out into the world tells the community something about your value system. And this will say something not entirely great about what our city values, apart from anything that we may say. Thank you.
Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion of making Tim George the new interim city manager, raise your right hand. I see Councilmember Pennington, Councilmember Steinmetz, Deputy Mayor Buxton, Councilmember Nutting, and myself. All those opposed, Councilmember Harris, and Councilmember Oxiger. The motion passes 5-2. We need to take action to swear him in, is that correct? Yes, so let's go ahead and do that.
Yes, while we're waiting, I'll just say thank you to the council. I know tonight was difficult. It's going to be difficult moving forward. It's a big transition. I just want to state that I'm committed to working with all 7 of you moving forward. We're going to implement some new changes as far as communication. I would like to meet with each one of you, in the next week or 2, and kind of figure out what your goals are for me moving forward in the interim. Before we, get the whole public process going and look for our next city manager. So I appreciate the support, and I appreciate the council taking this action tonight.
By the way, it smells like popcorn back there. It smells so good. Dinner. All right, so the camera's to you. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
I, Timothy George,
I, Timothy George,
have been duly appointed
have been duly appointed
to the office of interim city manager.
to the office of interim city manager.
Do solemnly affirm
Do solemnly affirm
that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
perform the duties of this office
perform the duties of this office
as prescribed by law
as prescribed by law
and to the best of my ability,
and to the best of my ability,
and I will support the government
and that I will support the government
of the United States
of the United States
and laws of the state
and laws of the state
and ordinances of the city of Des Moines.
and ordinances of the city of Des Moines.
Congratulations. Excellent. Thank you.
The next meeting will be November 16th for a regular city council meeting, and do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Wait a minute, I got the motion from Councilmember Steinmetz, and I'll take it from Councilmember Pennington. All those in favor of adjournment, raise your right hand. Motion passed 7-0. Everybody have a safe weekend and a happy Veterans Day.